Audio Jungle.
Greetings and welcome, ladies and gents. I'm the Super Gamer, and Sonic Forces is out to mixed reception. So what do I think of it? Well, first of all, I'm not doing this review alone. Everyone, please welcome back to the show, GaiaX.
Hello, I'm GaiaX Reborn, and it's great to be here on the Super Gamers channel.
So with that said, this is Sonic Forces.
Dr. Eggman has created an ultimate weapon known as the Phantom Ruby, which actually appeared in Sonic Mania before this game. Eggman has also given this ruby to one of his lackeys, creating the villain known as Infinite. As they begin to terrorize the world, Sonic jumps in as usual to save the day.
Eggman and Infinite are not alone, however. Along with them is Shadow the Hedgehog, Zavok the Seti, Metal Sonic, and Chaos the Emerald Guardian. They proceed to beat the living crap out of Sonic until he dies. After Sonic's tragic death, Eggman and Infinite take over 99.9% of the world, with the remaining 0.1% being a secret base for the Resistance.
Knuckles is the commander of the Resistance, and knows about a new recruit to the Resistance, which is you. For the sake of this review, we'll be calling this rookie the Avatar. Meanwhile, Tails is trying to fix Omega when suddenly Chaos attacks, only to be interrupted by Classic Sonic. Yeah, wouldn't you know that time portal Classic Sonic was pulled into at the end of Sonic Mania? It sent him to the future.
Eventually, it's revealed that Sonic isn't actually dead, but has been held prisoner and tortured for 6 months for the fun of it. Because Sega needs money. After a battle with Zavok, Sonic escapes the Death Egg and bumps into the Avatar. Eventually, Sonic and friends all reunite and are determined to take their world back and put a stop to Eggman and Infinite.
Now, I'm just gonna say it right now, the story is probably the best part of the game for me. I really mean it. This is a Sonic story that we've never experienced before, so it's a real breath of fresh air to me.
I thought that Sonic Forces had a story that struck an entirely different tone from previous games, but because Sonic is aimed at juvenile audiences, it wasn't pulled off as well as it could have been from said restraints. But I think Infinite was the backbone, stopping that attempted tone from falling flat on its face. I loved his personality, appearance, and it was refreshing to see Sonic get beaten around so much because of his cocky attitude. Twice. I know some people didn't like Infinite, but I always wanted to see more of him throughout the entire thing because he was such an awesome villain in my opinion.
Graphically, Sonic Forces is pretty similar to Sonic Unleashed to Generations, largely because they all use the same game engine, the Havoc engine. So because of that, this game looks great. The music, on the other hand, is pretty bland, with 2 exceptions. It's mostly just either remixes of past tracks or completely forgettable tracks. They're not as bland as the Sonic Boom games, but they really don't compare to games like Colors, Unleashed, Generations, Lost World, and, well, Mania. But the 2 tracks that do stand out are the 2 vocal songs, Fist Bump and Infinite. I love those songs.
Graphically, we haven't had a Sonic game looking this good since Unleashed. Colors was fine looking for me, but it wasn't a truly gorgeous look in its constant, 480p resolution, because it was only on the Wii and DS. Other than that, when Generations was being made, they had to tone down the graphics so there wouldn't be frame rate drops. Then we got Boom. No explanation needed. So yeah, this game looks brilliant graphically, and now I need to work on how I can say that without offending half the fan base, including the Super Gamer. Personally, I thought the game's music was pretty good. Not something I would listen to outside of my time playing the game. But for me it wasn't bad like a lot of people are saying it is. I think the only track I straight up didn't like was the classic Green Hill stage. But speaking of music from the game I wouldn't listen to in my own time, what about music that I would? All of Infinite's themes, my friends. I could listen to them for hours.
The gameplay is largely unchanged from Sonic Generations and Unleashed. Modern Sonic stages are what you would expect from a Sonic game. You have a homing attack, you can boost, and grind rails. Classic Sonic is probably the worst part of this game for me. It really doesn't help that I just played Sonic Mania a few months ago because these stages are so bland compared to Sonic Mania stages. The best part of this game by far are the avatar portions. Speaking of which, here's my avatar and here's GaiaX's avatar. You could customize it, give it snazzy clothes, and different kinds of Wispins, which are weapons with the powers of the Wisps from Sonic Colors. Me personally, I just stuck with the Burst Wispin because it's probably the most effective weapon of them all.
As you said, the gameplay is split up into 3 parts. I think the only complaint about the 3D Sonic levels is that Sonic's quick step takes you too far in one direction, and the creators clearly designed the stages thinking that Sonic wouldn't quick step as far as he actually does in the game. As for the avatar stages, the Lightning Wispon is broken on certain bosses and the Arsenal Pyramid stage. It's broken against the second Infinite fight because you can kill him so quickly, and my god, the second part of the final boss goes down in mere moments. It's terrifying. This power wasn't made for one person. As for the 2D Sonic levels, I hated them with all my being. First off, the controls do not feel smooth at all. They put a cooldown on when you can jump after using the drop dash, which might have seemed good for balancing on paper, but in the game, it's so annoying. 2D Sonic isn't even that fast. Sonic, not even fast. And don't get me started on how poorly made most of the 2D levels were. Even mid-game, I felt like the damn tutorial wasn't over yet from how easy and short the levels were.
Now, I have 2 serious problems with this game. The first one is that while GaiaX played this on the Xbox One, I played it on the PC. And boy was I unlucky, because the big problem with the PC version of the game is that it crashes. A lot. It feels like every 5 minutes it would crash. Half the time when it crashed, it didn't even load the game, period. Now keep in mind, I bought this game for $40 US. Sonic Mania was $20 US. Half the price, has much better music, and never crashed once. That's kind of a problem, guys. The other complaint is with the gameplay as a whole. This game is really freaking easy. Like, we're talking Kirby's Dream Land 1 for Game Boy levels of easy. Largely because this game is pretty much on autopilot, requiring very little input from the player, making them feel like their hand is being held, which really isn't good game design.
So yeah, I played on the Xbox One. Thankfully, I didn't have any crashes. But apart from what I've already said, I don't have that many other criticisms of the game. Of course, I beat this game in 3 sittings from how short it is. And I tried to do S ranks on all the stages, bear in mind, along with SOS missions and grinding for 3 gold medals. The game only puts up a slight challenge in the end game stages, and it is a bit of a shame really. I wish there were side missions to do, but it seems like quests for more avatar clothes and SOS missions are the only options. It's a bit like Sonic Unleashed in a way, in the sense that there's not a lot to do after the game is done. You can't restart with all of your stuff in Unleashed, however I haven't seen if you can in Forces, but even then, if you could, there's little point.
Lastly, the bosses aren't any better from the actual gameplay. They are also pathetically easy. You know, Sega, isn't the whole point of bosses to put your skills to the test?
As for the bosses, there are some good moments, but a couple of fights are forgettable. Even the Egg Dragoon. I had to actually think back on the bosses I fought, and I thought, what were the bosses actually? And the Egg Dragoon came up in my mind. The fact that it wasn't in my head instantly is a failure in my eyes. How do you make the Egg Dragoon into a forgettable boss fight, Sega? How? But yeah, some bosses can be really fun, like the infinite fights. Some bosses can be beaten in way less time than they were meant to be. Electric Wisp on. I know people hate, and I mean hate, the third infinite fight for pretty much copying the Metal Sonic fight, but I didn't actually have that much of a problem with it. After all, the first infinite fight pretty much felt like the third, except you don't go around a snake, you just like go in a straight line pretty much.
And now it's time for the spoiler section.
Sonic and friends have taken back most of the planet and all start a final battle in an attempt to take back the remaining parts of the world. They defeat Infinite and Eggman in one last final battle, everyone is happy, Classic Sonic says goodbye, and the Avatar leaves the Resistance to help other people and flies off into the sunset. The end. And that was Sonic Forces, and overall, while I don't like it as much as Sonic Mania, and despite all the complaints and the amount of times it crashed on me, I still really enjoyed this game, despite its flaws. Yeah, despite all that I went through and all my problems, I still think this is a pretty good game. With that, I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
Overall, this wasn't the best Sonic game I played, but it definitely wasn't a bad one, like a lot of people are seeing. Yes, the 2D Sonic is awful, and it takes up a chunk of the game, and I rolled my eyes whenever I see that the next stage is a 2D one, but the story, although the writing had me cringe a couple of times from Sonic and Knuckles' writing from how bad it was quite good, and I think Infinite saved this game from being bad because he was such a likable villain, to be honest. Overall, I give this game a 7 out of 10. And with that said, I'm going to go jump out the window now, so I'll see you next time. Bye!
Oh my dude, you just got pranked. Bet you didn't see that one coming, huh?
Until then, I'm the Super Gamer, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!